Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jose. I have the pleasure to introduce to, of course, the a special guest that we have tonight. We have the great and only one, Mr. Airbnb. Of course, Braydon Ross is joining us tonight. Tonight's webinar is all about the key things that you need in order to make your Airbnb business successful. And remember, let me tell you a little bit more about Braydon as the numbers of participants increase, because of course everyone wants to listen to Braydon. I want just to let you know that Braydon actually created an empire by himself. In the last few years, he's been working with Airbnb and short-term rentals. Recently, he discovered all of the Airbnb world, and basically he became an expert, so much that he's actually today a mentor. He's going to be here tonight letting us know a little bit more about how to make the business. Remember, he's already is managing over 400 Airbnb across the world, and he's doing 7 figures with his business. And right now, he's devoted to help others to build empires the way he's done. Okay, so again, thank you very much for joining us. And let me introduce to Braydon. Braydon, hello, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah, sure. Let me, Catherine is asking about videos. Yes, of course, we are going to be sharing videos in just a moment, okay? Give me just a second, guys. I'm going to be, let me see. Braydon, I want to make you the host of tonight's meeting. Let me see if you already have the invite in order for you to share screens, okay? At any time, you're going to be able to make questions, okay, to participate. And you have the Q&A section, and you already have the chat option, okay? Whenever you want, you can type the questions or any doubt that you have, and I'll make sure that Braydon have the opportunity to learn about it, okay? Braydon,
hey guys.
There you are. Hello, Braydon. We can see you now.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I think that if you want to share screens with us and want to talk us tonight,
yeah,
you're going to be able to do it.
So I'll share my screen. I'll kind of go through a small little presentation, talk heavily about how if you are involved, I don't know what the percentage of people who already have an Airbnb or who don't have an Airbnb is, but just to let you guys know, I am Canadian. So I started my whole journey way up in the north. I'm currently down here in Miami this weekend hosting a private Airbnb boot camp. And we had Airbnbs down here for some time. And I'll talk a little bit more about regulation, ordinance, zoning, and stuff like that, and the things that you should be aware of. One thing I emphasize heavily to anybody that's getting into this industry is always to weigh your options and look at the risks versus the rewards. And you want to make sure you cover all grounds before you kind of get fully involved into Airbnb. So I'll make it simple. I'll make it really easy for people to understand how that's going to work and whatnot. And I'm excited to just share my journey and kind of a little bit more about my story and whatnot. So I'll share my screen. You guys will kind of see a little bit of a slideshow and whatnot. But
Braydon, I'm sorry to interrupt you, man. Braydon, I just want to let you know that for some reason there is an echo, and probably because it could be because you have a couple of devices going on. But
is
if you go again.
Is it echoing still? Because I'm not sure. I see that there's like 13, 12 devices connected, and I don't only have the laptop here.
Okay, it looks like Vivra is actually telling us that the sound is good. So go ahead.
All right, perfect. I'll share my screen with you guys, and then you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I'll break down the Airbnb industry, kind of where it started, where it's at, where it's going, how you can get involved. And kind of just pull back the curtains and show you that it is a real business and a real opportunity. I've had the pleasure of being able to connecting with Francesco and his team here, and I'm excited just to see where Bnbvestor goes as well, because it's an amazing software that's helped me and the people that I've coached for many years now. So I'll share my screen with you guys. Let me know if there's any issues in the chat and whatnot. I'll just kind of show you this, and it should be fine. So just starting out, Airbnb. Obviously, you've probably heard the term, the buzzword Airbnb. It's everywhere at this point. It's over a decade old at this point, and it's growing. Airbnb is supposed to be going public this upcoming year. And I know a lot of you guys want to just get right into the nuts and bolts. How do I do this? How do I make this happen? How do I make it come to fruition? And just move forward with it. So I'm going to start a little bit about a question I get all the time. Airbnb, is it too late? It's not too late to start doing Airbnb. It's actually a really good time. I started myself in 2016. I'm coming up here on 4 years. And when I did start, I started with just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and that was in Canada. And it was a unit that I did buy. I didn't realize there was a way to arbitrate the market and not have to own any property to do this business. So one of the coolest things about Airbnb is that you can use other people's properties, much like Airbnb uses the properties we put on the platform. Airbnb is just one of many platforms. There's HomeAway and VRBO and Mr. BNB, which is close to my name, Mr. Airbnb. But there's lots of options, not just to promote on Airbnb, but it's the most well-known. So is it too late? Absolutely not. I think it's a great time to enter the market, but you need to be aware of the risks, which I'll cover, and also the rewards, which usually pay out quite nicely. So I appreciate you guys coming on the live presentation tonight. I'll talk a little bit more about who I am in just a second here, but if you are joining us, normally I say it would take me anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to kind of get through what I want to get through. If you want to stay that entire time, obviously you have interest in Airbnb. If you kind of want to just get snippets, that's fine too. But I recommend if you want to take some notes, put your phone away, stop the TV, whatever the heck's going on around you, and just kind of listen to my experience, my journey, my failures and successes in this business, and how I got to where I am today. That way you can emulate what you want out of this conversation and do it yourself. So why should you listen to me? How do you know you can trust me? I know many of you guys probably have never even heard of me. I go by the name Mr. Airbnb. It's actually on my shirt here on Instagram. And over the past couple of years, I've built a brand. I've had the pleasure of working with some great entrepreneurs. One that's really well known, his name is Ty Lopez. And he's actually asked me to teach marketing, and we created an Airbnb course together last January in New York in his apartment. And it was amazing being able to work around some awesome individuals. I've been able to speak with Grant Cardone's team and talk about how they can start doing Airbnb and some other big names in the industry. But essentially, for you to get started with this business, you don't necessarily need money. You don't necessarily need credit or any real estate experience. I'm not saying come in at fully green and as a newbie, but understand that there's a huge market right now for you to come in and manage people's properties for them and make money on Airbnb. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Calgary, Canada. It's a city up in Canada. It's really cold there. Just left there yesterday. It was -40, believe it or not, -40 Celsius. And now down here in Miami, we have almost a 70-degree Celsius, not Fahrenheit change, at +25 to 30. So it's amazing being a little bit of warmth. But I'm born and raised there, and that's where I started my whole Airbnb journey. I heard about Airbnb when I was just trying to get into entrepreneurship. I was really transitioning out of that university route. I had been self-employed for about a year, started a marketing agency, started a TV streaming company called Rossbox TV, and used that money to buy a place. And I wanted to travel. The first place I actually came and traveled was Miami after listing my property on Airbnb and realizing that I could make 2 to 3 times what I would charge a normal tenant to come into my property each month. So like I said, I've been a part of this whole Airbnb journey for about 4 years. I built multiple 6 and now at 7-figure businesses. But it took me 4 years of consistent hard work to get to that 7-figure mark, all primarily based around Airbnb at this point. I get asked quite often, is there multiple things that I've done? I've had a marketing agency. I've done a little bit of Bitcoin, this, that, and the other. Never really clicked with me. I like the marketing side, but Airbnb was a way for me to get into real estate. And I realized that it's made more millionaires real estate than any other industry in the entire world. So I was really onto this new idea, and I thought, how can I do this without owning any property? How can I do this without continuously buying more property? And so I came up with the idea of rental arbitrage. And there was other people doing it too, but it's just about how you brand yourself. So as mentioned, bought my first apartment, pretty much paid its mortgage down over the past 3 years, but it's been able to pay it off a lot quicker. Instead of getting a traditional 30-year mortgage or a 25-year mortgage, I always recommend to people, if you're running a business, why not rent where you live? That way you can write it off as workspace. And then if you're going to buy something, at least put long-term tenants in there, but now actually put Airbnb guests in there. And that will actually allow you to pay off the property 2 to 3 times quicker than a traditional mortgage. So you could probably pay off a $300,000 apartment in 5 to 7 years instead of 21 to 30 years, which makes a lot more sense. And worst case scenario, you just put a long-term tenant in there. So that's down the road of traditional real estate where you're going to purchase property. In 2018, I was listed on Entrepreneur Magazine as a top 10 entrepreneur under 30, and actually will be coming out and being a part of Forbes Magazine for a little article that they're writing this February as well. There's Ty and I last year in his New York apartment. Actually, that was right on Billionaires Row. It was quite amazing. That's something I grew up around. So it was incredible being around some amazing entrepreneurs like Ty and his team, and building something that came into fruition. And I took it upon myself to grow it even more and build a brand around the name Mr. Airbnb, so other people could have a chance to either A, quit their job, or just supplement their income to make more money doing this lucrative business. So I've been featured in some other publications, BuzzFeed, USA Today, Yahoo, Forbes, coming out, like I said. So when I said, how can you trust me? How do you know I'm credible? I've had some outlets and PR, if you will, talk about what I do. So you're in good hands, and I hope that tonight you're going to get some information out of kind of what I'm going to go over. I've been able to help lots of people. So last year, I do teach people as well. I was able to teach 600 different people this Airbnb business, and a lot of them actually ended up becoming partnerships with me. So it's not like I went out and found all these Airbnbs myself. Some of it I was helping with some marketing ideas. Some of it I was just working on as a co-host to many of these people that had Airbnbs. I ended up landing a deal with a hotel up in Canada as well. And of course I have the one up in Calgary as well. But many of the students that come through, they end up not wanting to just learn from me. They end up wanting to partner with me. And luckily, as we approach here into 2020, well, now into 2020, we've now picked up an additional 80 properties in the Caribbean islands. No money down. We didn't put any money down. We took a management percentage, which I'll talk about how you essentially gauge that if you're just getting into this as a new person. So between training and doing Airbnb, currently doing, last year was the first 7-figure year, so over $1 million. And when it says I've trained 15,000 people, that was through Ty. When I consider it through myself, I trained 600 people through my own program. Now with Ty, he has millions and millions of followers, so thousands of people go through, see the videos that I taught with him, but I consider that different training. So real estate's amazing. Obviously, people don't realize you don't need a lot of capital. You don't need a lot of credit, and you don't need a lot of know-how in real estate. We're not going in and flipping homes or buying commercial real estate. We're going and really just listing properties on Airbnb. I'm actually in one right now. So it's easy for anybody to kind of get involved, whether you're 80 years old or whether you're 18 years old, just leaving high school. There's a spot and a place for you. And the nicest part about it is that Airbnb is growing so fast right now that compared to where 2016, you could just list a property and it would be booked out 30 nights out of the month. Now you have to do a little due diligence, and you have to actually use multiple different platforms, use a little bit of automation and SEO, search engine optimize, rank your Airbnb listings so you can get more notice in the cities that you're actually trying to get booked out for. It's amazing because it's a $60 billion industry or $60 billion company, not industry, in just 9 years. But they own no real estate. Amazon pretty much owns no products. They use other people's. I'm sure you've heard this before. Uber owns no cars. And if you think about the business that you're utilizing, you're essentially creating a subservice under a subservice, where I'm finding homes like this, these apartments. This one is right near Miami Beach. And I'm going to homeowners, and I'll talk more about it, but I'm essentially offering them multiple options. A, I'll just rent your property, give me permission. I'll put it on Airbnb. It's called a master lease. Or I will manage the property, and you could earn this much more money instead of me just paying you rent. Even why don't you just do it yourself? And this is where you can come in as an expert and talk about the options of using Airbnb and HomeAway and VRBO, Expedia, Booking.com, FlipKey, TripAdvisor. There's a whole bunch out there. There's actually 200 short-term rental platforms across the world. So Airbnb has about 150 million users right now. And if we look at today, it's about 260 million guests, and they've booked and stayed in Airbnb properties across the world. So this is not just something that's in one city. We're talking global at this point. And as mentioned, Airbnb's plan is to go public this year. If you guys have any questions too, by the way, I get a little notification on my end you can ask in the chat and I'll try to address them as I move forward through here, or at the end when I can do a Q&A. So moving forward, again, just some fun facts about Airbnb. 260 million Airbnb guest arrivals of all time. That's insane. 260 million, quarter of a billion. And 2 million people, average number of people staying on an Airbnb every single night. 1,000+ cities with Airbnb experiences, which is also an amazing opportunity. It's not something that I've dabbled into personally too much, but some of my students that have gone through have dabbled heavy into the experiences side. And they've actually found quite a lot of success at it because, again, you're not finding property, but you're offering a skill set or something, whether you're a foodie, whether you're an artist, maybe you're you do driving school or motorbikes, whatever it may be. Experiences range heavily, and especially in Canada, people will even take you out to the mountains and go kayaking, and you can make money from this stuff. So don't just think real estate. You can actually think about experiences and doing things in real time. All right, so 2008, Airbnb was called AIRBNB. It's an amazing thing because that's literally what happened. They had an air mattress in a little apartment, Brian Chesky and his partner, and essentially they wanted to come up with this idea. And I was reading an article that for the first 2 years that they started this company, if you're talking about hustle, the first 2 years of them starting this company, they visited every single Airbnb host that signed up to the platform, and many angel investors passed on not only Uber, but Airbnb as well. And supposedly Ashton Kutcher was one of them. So this is AIRBNB, Airbnb's original form. So 3 guys who needed to pay rent formed a solution for a citywide conference, and Airbnb, not warborn, but was born. Sorry for the typo there. But yeah, essentially this has gone and exploded, and they've been able to take that to where it's at today. And just from a little idea of home sharing. And a lot of people might think, you have a problem with regulations in your city with Airbnb. Imagine what these guys have had to go through. We're just trying to get Airbnbs into multiple cities, or just have that idea come to fruition with government. So what does this mean for you? It means a huge opportunity. Obviously, you're able to grow a business where you don't, A, have to own any real estate. B, if you don't have a lot of money saved or you don't have a lot of credit, you're still able to play in this game. A lot of businesses require a lot of capital up front. It's never been easier to make good money online. And just with your cell phone, you have enough opportunity. I built $1 million business off my cell phone. It's taken me a couple of years. Was it easy? No. Was it worth it? 100%. I wouldn't change it for anything. I would never, ever go back and work for somebody, because this is an opportunity where I know, A, I love to travel. B, I love to help people. I love to accommodate. And I love to be able to have people smile when they step into my property. And C, I'm able to make money from this no matter where I'm at. Everything is automated communication, reviews, cleanings. Those are all done through the phone. And as you scale this business, whether you're just starting with 1 or you're starting with 50, or maybe you get a 100-unit deal, depends on who you know. A lot of businesses are relationship based, but that doesn't mean you can't go out and start building trust with different people and start landing deals. So leverage the Airbnb platform to make a stream of income on a part-time or full-time basis. And what I mean by that, let me give you an instance. One condo, so I'll give you the numbers that my one condo did in Calgary. So last year that did 52,000 gross. So on that cost, my cost on that is $17,000. So you can tell my profit is going to be $35,000 on 1 unit. That's in my pocket after everything is said and done. Now, if you have 3 of those, you're at over $100,000 a year. You're pushing a doctor's wage with just 3 Airbnbs. So 3 Airbnbs, if you really try and you know what to say, you know what to look for, and you understand how the business works, you're able to go out and actually land multiple deals in just a week if you tried. And some people, it takes longer depending on your situation. Luck, I wouldn't say luck plays a huge role in this. It's about how personable you can be with people, like any business, and get them to trust you, know you, and like you, and they'll do business with you. So you don't have to own any real estate. So I wanted to share some free content with you guys. I usually charge $1,000 for it. So if I'm consulting with somebody one-on-one, I charge them $1,000 US an hour. And I'm usually able to give enough value to match, that price point. Did it start there? No, I started teaching people for free in groups. I started meeting people at coffee shops, showing them my idea. And this was several years ago. As it progressed, the demand became more. I grew 150,000 followers on Instagram and was able to start getting people's attention. If you don't have people's attention, you don't have their currency, you don't have anything that people don't want to be around people that don't have a lot of eyes on them. It's just like Black Friday. If everybody wants that TV sale, there's going to be a lineup around Best Buy and people are going to be fighting over it. You need to have that in your business. So maybe you start this Airbnb business, but you don't have a lot of people wanting to do business with you yet because they don't know what you can do. They don't know who you are. You haven't built a brand yet. Does it take a long time? It can. Can you expedite it? Yes, especially with what we have with Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, TikTok being a huge one. It may sound stupid to you guys, but TikTok is a huge platform that transitions followers into Instagram. So I'm happy you guys are here. Thank you so much. So take some notes if you'd like. There we go. So three things important things to consider when launching a successful Airbnb business. How do you start with no money down? Sorry guys, this tongue's a little dry here. So starting with no money down, it's very simple. We'll take this 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment near Brickell in Miami, for example. And let's say I find this property on an expired MLS listing. Maybe I find it through a realtor. Some of the platforms you can use is Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. A huge one right now, which I'm giving away to you guys, is hotpads.com. Hotpads.com not only goes, it doesn't just always go to the property manager or the realtor or that person that kind of, creates that boundary between you and the decision maker. It allows you to get right to the homeowner a lot of the time. So Hotpads is a way where you can see people who are wanting to rent their place out, and it's a simple solution for you to get to that person who can make a choice. So how do you start with no money down? You manage the property essentially. In this case, you're not master leasing. Master leasing means I'm going to the person who has this available property and I'm saying, hey, I would love to rent your property. We do corporate luxury short-term rentals, and I use that phrase instead of Airbnb. It sounds worse because people only think of parties. So I say corporate luxury short-term rentals. And when you say that, you're essentially taking your business and you're renting the property with your business. Becomes a corporate master lease. Not only can you write off the property, your legal obligation and liability becomes separate from your personal, but now you're an actual business creating revenue. You're not just doing it under your personal name, which is really what Airbnb and government want. And that's why regulation and ordinance is so heavy right now, because a lot of people aren't paying their taxes with Airbnb. So always pay your taxes with Airbnb. With the no money down option, again, I'll give you an example. So 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment like this, I recommend you start with a condo, typically, as long as the building permits it. So your first step is, let's say you're on hotpads.com, and let's say you're in, I don't know, downtown, or you're in Boston. So you look in Boston and you notice there's 50 1-bedroom, 1-bath or 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments that are ready to go. The first thing I do is I start calling. I make a list, and some people use monday.com. Some people will just use an Excel spreadsheet, but I'll make a list of people that I call. So I'll go through every single one, so 50 people, and I will make a list saying, hey, this person is interested, or we're having a meeting. And on these phone calls, I'm not really pitching my idea as much. However, you can do it. There's multiple ways of selling. But essentially, I'm saying, hey, my name is Braydon. I actually just noticed your property on hotpads.com, for example. I love the property. It's really what fits my criteria. When are you available to meet in person? I'd love to come see it as soon as possible. Are you free today? So if you create that urgency, you haven't really given them an idea of what you want to do yet. You can pitch in person, which is always way easier. But if you do it over the phone, you need to provide value. So flipping the script, if you're calling these people and you're on the phone with them, you need to be like, hey, I noticed your property up on hotbeds.com. I noticed it's been up for X amount of days and you're looking for this much per month. What if I could pay you double that? Or what if I didn't pay you, but what if you did Airbnb out of it yourself? I'm just curious, why aren't you doing Airbnb out of your property yourself? I'm sure you've been pitched by multiple people about doing it, but why aren't you actually doing it yet? Because it's just sitting vacant. It's not making you any money. So they might start asking you questions and saying, hey, I'm curious, what do you mean? Like, how much money do you think it could make? So what we do and what I teach people is this is where Bnbvestor falls in, is I'll pull up on Bnbvestor and see in real time how much money I can make on that property. So essentially with Bnbvestor, you plug in the city, it shows you the average daily rental rate, the average occupancy. You can filter per the size of the home and the community, and you can give these people a rough idea on how much money they're sitting on essentially. So how do you start with the no money down option? You provide value first, A, over the phone, or B, in person. You're not trying to go land a management deal without having a management company yet. You don't have any properties under, but at least show them value. So if I show up to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment like this, I know that I could say to them, hey, you guys can make a lot more money with Airbnb. Let me show you some analytics on the software we're using. And you can go to Airbnb as well and do your own numbers and crunch them and find averages. But I think out of this property, you want $2,000 a month. I think we can do $4,500 to $5,000 a month. And that's after cleaning fees. So that'd be double, almost 3 times your money, 2.5 times your money than what you're asking for. And start having a conversation with these people, build rapport. And then you can bring up the idea, if it's not furnished, what if I furnish it for you? You know, no money down. You don't essentially have to use cash. If you have a little bit of credit, that helps. But you can, especially in the United States, you guys have lots of 0% APR credit cards. So you can start using that credit to your advantage. If it's already furnished, that's easy. You can look for furnished apartments. And even on hotpads.com, you can go to a filter where it only shows you listings listed by the owner. So you don't even have to worry about going to all these people and having to worry about other people in the way of making that decision. So normally what I offer, for example, on a place, if I'm just walking in, I'd say, hey, let me manage the property. I don't want anything from you. Let me manage the property, put it on Airbnb, connect it to the systems. We use multiple systems for automation, and essentially list it for you. I'll take new pictures. I'll get it decorated and set up. I'll make sure we got a cleaning crew. Every time they need to get it in and out, the guest communication, check-in, check-out, and reviews will be taken care of. And on top of that, Airbnb already covers you up to $1 million in liability insurance anyway. So if anything happens between the 4 walls, you don't have to worry about it because Airbnb will have your back. And that's through damages as well as personal injury and liability. So 0 money down, you're managing the property and creating a short-term luxury, like almost like a corporate housing company, a short-term luxury rental company. So on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, I'd normally offer, if it was furnished, anywhere from 20 to 30%. And if you want to write that down, if it's furnished, usually 20 to 30% is what I take. But for the first 2 weeks, approach with a free offer. Manage the property. They're going to get to know you, like you, trust you. They're going to see the money coming in. And after 2 weeks, you can assess, hey, is this something that you want to continue with? My rate is 20 to 30%. It's already furnished, ready to go. I'd like to just take over. And as you can see, if we can consistently do this, you're going to be making more money. And if you have multiple spots, I want to build a long-term relationship. I'm not in this for a year. I'm in this for life. And make sure they understand that you're trying to build a long-term business that way. If it's not furnished, on the other hand, you got to put a little bit of money down or leverage credit. Usually I recommend starting with a studio or a 1-bedroom condo. That way it's easy to furnish. It doesn't cost a lot. You know, you can go to Facebook Marketplace or IKEA and get pretty much everything you need for dirt cheap. Most of the stuff I buy new is just beds, linens, cutlery, towels, stuff like that. But when it comes to like a dining room table or a coffee table or a TV stand, even TVs, you don't need to get all that stuff new. You can furnish for super cheap, like $1,500 I'm talking for like a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And you make all that money back in the first month anyway. So if you leverage it on a credit card, you're making money from your management deal. All right. I know I was talking a lot there. All right. So how to partner with homeowners and get a yes. I briefly just spoke about how to partner with homeowners and get a yes, but getting a yes, you need to make sure you handle objections. So if you're going to decide that you're going to call these people up, you're going to show up in person and you're going to pitch this idea, you need to make sure that you know your facts. Number one, they're going to be scared of the high turnover rate. They're going to be scared of their place getting trashed. And I'll answer your guys' questions at the end. I see it blinking. I just can't answer it as I'm going here. So high turnover rates, they're going to be scared of. The wear and tear, they're going to be scared of. They're going to be scared of the people coming in and out. They're also going to be scared of the neighbors complaining about noise. How do you eliminate all these? Well, let's start at the last one I just gave you. Noise, for example. Whenever I'm pitching to a homeowner, I let them know that they can feel safe and secure because I use a product called Noise Aware, or you can use it. Noise Aware is a $200 machine. I don't have any affiliation with them. And it really goes on the wall. And when that place gets to a certain decibel level, it notifies you on the phone and you can send them a message. If it gets bad, you can actually send the police over. So Noise Aware is an easy solution for that. High turnover rates. A lot of the time they're going to say, well, 1 night stays. Yeah, that's a high turnover rate. How do you know that these people, the place isn't going to get wrecked because there's new people all the time? It's no different than you coming home every night or you inviting friends over. It's actually going to be in better condition than as if you live there yourself because you have to keep it in 5-star quality condition. You're running a business out of it. It's got to be a luxury short-term stay, as you said from the very beginning. So if you're running a business out of this property, it's got to be cleaned. It always has to, all the appliances have to work. You're going to be coming in and out. And if you're personally not there, because maybe you want to get an Airbnb somewhere else, your cleaning crew can help with that. Or you can manage a co-host. With my student network, we have so many students everywhere. There's pretty much a student in every city you can think of in the United States, at least, and a lot in Australia and Canada and now Europe. Now we just help each other out. So how do you get a yes? $1 million peace of mind liability insurance, professional cleaning, high turnover rate. It's going to be taken care of. You can tell them that a soft background check is done with every single Airbnb guest that comes in and out. Now, Airbnb already does that. You can have it where you have instant book or you have request to book. If you list a listing, put it on instant book, they have to qualify, meaning they have to meet criteria, government issued ID, even 2 pieces or 5-star reviews from hosts in the past and things of that nature. Now with this place that we're staying at, when we checked in, we had to go to the front desk and actually give them our IDs so they know who's staying in that unit. That way the building's okay with it. So how do you get a yes out of people? You convince them that if there's more risk, there's going to be more reward, right? If you're managing, there's more reward on the table. Let me show you and provide value for free at first. Then we'll turn this into a deal after you see how much value has been provided. Number 2, you need to make it clear that insurance comes into play. And if you need additional insurance, you can do that. Now I'll give you another little golden nugget here. There's a couple insurance providers in the United States, but I would say there's only really 2 that do it if you're renting or if you're managing, but it does have to be in the homeowner's name. So one of them is Point Insurance, P-O-I-N-T Insurance. And if you're Canadian, Duo is D-U-U-O and then .ca, and they'll insure you for $3 to $5 a day, up to $2 million extra if the homeowner is concerned about this. And that's only when somebody's staying in the property. So again, Americans, Point Insurance, Canadians, Duo.ca. All right, how to find unlimited profitable leads anywhere in the world without spending a penny. Well, I kind of talked about it briefly. Bnbvestor has a great option. It's called Deal Finder for Rent or Deal Finder for Sale. It shows you available properties in the area, how much you would potentially earn on Airbnb with them, what the occupancy rate should be based on the numbers in real time from the area, and it gives you the phone number to the person on that listing connected to Trulia where those listings are actually coming from. You can use Craigslist. You can use, as a Canadian, Kijiji. Hot Pads, again, is my number 1. Facebook Marketplace is another option. And you can take it even a step further. What we did in Miami this last year is we used realtors to go out and find places that were for sale that weren't able to sell in 6 months to 1 year on the expired MLS listings. And what we do with these properties, or the intention you can do anywhere with these properties, is you can rent them. In this case, if you're going after a larger house, which I don't recommend you start with, it's too much headache with parties and the turnover rates are a little bit slower. And then also you're dealing with cleanings that might last too long and the next guest check-in's a headache. So I don't recommend starting to rent right away a house. But what we did is we master leased these properties. And then from there, we had an addendum that stated that all the rent that we paid over 1 year would go to the purchase price of the home. That way we became an actual prospect for the homeowner who's now trying to sell his home, and he can now trust us to do business with them long-term. So that's an option too, lease to own. So you have master lease, you can do a revenue share agreement, which is no money down. Master lease is where you're renting, or you can do the lease to own as well, which is another option. Of course, you can buy property too, but your money is going to go a lot further when you're doing master leasing. All right, so that's actually one of the houses we had. And the reason why I say we had is because Miami has recently changed their ordinance regulations and laws. And this brings up one of the major questions that I'm sure most of you guys have. Will it work in my city? Now you're going to have to research, just go on Google, look on your government website, short-term rental laws, Boston, or short-term rental laws, Delaware, wherever you are. And it'll give you what you need. Typically what you need is a certificate of use or a short-term rental license, just like as if you got a license for your car. So you're operating as a commercial operator, and not every single place is it fully legal in a sense, because New York is heavily restricted in certain areas like Lower Manhattan. New Jersey's okay, Brooklyn's like but you need to be able to research your area. 2016, I'd be like, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are, you can list. But for most places, you'll be just fine. And if you don't want to do Airbnb in your own city, you can do this anywhere at any time. I've got a huge network of people that can help with that as well. But you can set these up remotely and actually hire people to stage it, even do the furnishing. You don't physically have to be there. You can pitch people over the phone. Like I said, it's just a little bit harder. You have to build rapport with people. So when I'm talking about no money down options, it's very possible your potential clients range from homeowners looking to sell or rent their property. Number 2, real estate agents with client portfolios you can access. Number 3, property management companies, which we land a lot of our deals through. A lot of smaller property management companies with 10, 20 properties. Although we actually just, I think he's in here right now. I'm working with him. He just got off the phone with a property management company with 800 properties. that we might be working with. So that would be amazing if that happened. But usually the smaller property management companies, and if you're wondering how to find those, go to Google, type in your city property management company, get off page 1 because everybody's going to page 1 and hitting them up. Go to page 2 and beyond, and you'll find tons of companies that are smaller that want more business and they're hungrier. So property management companies, corporate housing companies, which take expats. So executives from like Shell Oil and Gas want to come down to, or go down to Austin, Texas. They need somewhere to put their executives for, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks or more at a time. Corporate housing essentially emulates what we're doing, just a little bit less of a turnover rate. So you can also work with corporate housing companies. Existing Airbnb hosts, Bnbvestor actually shows you all of the Airbnb hosts in your city, how much they're earning on Airbnb, roughly what they're paying for rent, and shows you their occupancy rate. If they have usually anything from 40% or lower occupancy, you can go on Airbnb and message them directly. Now, you shouldn't do this more than 3 to 5 times a day because Airbnb will flag you. But if you decide that you want to and you want to try to take them off the platform, there's a little hack. And the hack is you can't just write your phone number. You need to actually, I would recommend taking the numbers you see on Bnbvestor, telling these people that this is what they're doing. They're going to be amazed that you know this information. And this is how much you can improve their occupancy by using multiple platforms, because they're probably just using Airbnb, or their photography's off, or their title, or their pricing. So if you want to write your phone number in an Airbnb message and you're not actually booked in with the host, Airbnb will block it. But for example, if you want to write, like, for example, 587, that's what area code where I'm from, 587, then the word then, and then you write, for example, 777, and then the word then, and then 7777, it'll actually allow that phone number to go through. So I wouldn't recommend doing that more than 3 to 5 times a day, but you can let them know you're local and you'd like to meet for coffee, and talk about the options of doing Airbnb and increasing their occupancy at first for free, 2 weeks, and then move on from there. You can land deals right out of the gates too. You don't always have to offer free trial. I'm just saying, if you want more leads than you can handle, provide value, and in turn, you're going to end up getting deals that way. So, all right. So boutique hotels, major opportunity here. So boutique hotels are not the Ritz-Carlton or the W or the Sheraton or the Marriott, none of that. I'm talking about the mom and pop owned hotels that you can work with. And this is how I actually landed a deal in Edmonton. They have a hotel in Edmonton, and then in the Squamish Valley, which is another area in Canada, in the mountains. And so they had 80 rooms per hotel. We started with 20. It ended up working right out of the gates. You're managing these hotel rooms. They already have cleaners there. They have a front desk concierge. Guests can check in at any time, and they're already licensed to do short-term rentals. South Beach, Miami is heavily illegal for Airbnb. But if you own the building where you have a bed and breakfast or a boutique hotel, you're going to notice if you go to the Airbnb website, there's a boutique hotel section that's actually there now. So a lot of people, if you're hearing this from me now and you take action, you're early. But if you wait till the end of 2020, you're going to hear a lot more people, because I'll be teaching a lot more people the idea of doing boutique hotels. Now with boutique hotels, when we onboarded, we started with 20 properties or 20 units. These are all rooms side by side. So boom, you got 20 deals right there, right? And then from there, you can connect with their front desk system and use not only Expedia, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, but I'm talking about using HomeAway and VRBO and Airbnb. Those are usually the top 3, by the way. And you can use these and list their rooms on those sites. So you can take a percentage, even if you made 10%. Imagine making 10% on 100 rooms, and each room is $100 a night. So that's $10 a night at a 50% occupancy. That's $500 a night at an overall occupancy rate of, let's just say, 80% out of the month in the hotel. So you'd be at, what is that, 25 times 5, whatever the heck that is. I don't even know what that is. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it's enough. It's enough to quit your job and earn 6 figures. I'm telling you right now, on our hotel deal, we take anywhere from 25 to 35%. How do you get in with these people? LinkedIn. LinkedIn's an amazing place. People underutilize it. And essentially, I'd consider it like the little brother of social media that almost got forgotten. But it's not forgotten because business professionals are on there. So LinkedIn allows you to connect with the decision makers. How do you find the decision makers? You can Google who owns corporations, do reverse searches on Google, and look them up on there. You can go to real estate investment meetings or even Airbnb hosting meetings. You can run Facebook ads that target real estate investors or even entrepreneurs, and everybody in the community is going to know everybody anyway. So there's a massive opportunity there. And as for the home, by the way, this is one of the homes we had. The T3, T4 zoning areas in Miami caused the issue, and we had to give up one of the houses. So you need to make sure that depending on where you're at, just make sure you're doing your due diligence and advise a lawyer if you need to. But for the most part, you should be okay. All right, so I talked about the two different ways landing a deal. You know, scaling to 7 figures is not easy in any business. Scaling to 8 figures is a whole other beast. And then obviously you got the magicians who scale to 9 figures. But what I'm talking about, if you're just trying to get your first Airbnb, to get to 6 figures is typically 2 to 3 properties, just to make it simple. So if you're trying to get that first Airbnb out of the way, you're either renting the property, which is called master leasing, or you're doing a revenue share, which is just a simple management method. This is actually one of the other houses as well we had in Miami. So you approach a homeowner, real estate agency, investor, and ask them to essentially work with them. And I was talking about a little bit of the pitch there. You can take a certain percentage based off if it's furnished or not. Again, just to remind you guys, if a place is not furnished, anywhere from 20, or if it is furnished, sorry, anywhere from 20 to 30% is typically what you would take. Management companies long-term usually take 15 to 20, but we're earning a higher ROI for these people, and that's the goal. So you're going to take a higher percentage. If you have to furnish it, I like to take anywhere from honestly 40 to 50%. Master lease, again, this means you rent the property with owner's permission and re-rent it on Airbnb and as many other short-term rental websites as you can, such as VRBO, HomeAway, Expedia, etc. All right, so now with that being said, how do you make it profitable for both you and the landlord? And this is what I personally recommend. So here's a little breakdown because people love numbers and whatnot. So you need to ask them, you know, you have to be upfront with people. If you're going to ask a homeowner to manage the property for a percentage, 30% to you, again, if you can get 30% out of a furnished unit, that's what I would start at. Hey, normally we charge 30% to manage the property. If they don't like that number, you know, they can come down, but at least you're starting at what you want. Usually you want to start even higher than that. But you want to offer a free value at first, especially if you're new to this business. I recommend getting in and just saying, hey, let me manage the property for 2 weeks. And to be honest with you, if you had to break down the steps of setting up an Airbnb, if it's already furnished, come in. If you're a photographer, fantastic. Does your phone work? I wouldn't say your phone is a great idea. You want excellent pictures. And then what you do is you go on Airbnb, find similar listings to yours that you want to list, and you can take their descriptions and add little pieces of the top listings you find. And why I say that is if you take little chunks from each popular Airbnb listing in the area, a lot of their descriptions are SEO ranked. So if you don't know what SEO means, it's search engine optimization. It's a lot of the time what Google is going to find when they're looking top 10 Airbnbs in, again, we'll use Boston. And so these Airbnbs show up. So 30% to you and 70% to the other party if the house is furnished. 20% is possible as well. Or again, that's supposed to be 25%, sorry, to you and 2.5. I don't know why it says that. 50% to the other party. You want it, or sorry, it says 2. 50% to you and 50% to the other party if you have to furnish it. Again, you can liquidate credit, and I'm going to break down a little process right now that you can use to liquidate your credit card. And normally this isn't something I show on a free live webinar, but it's very simple. Okay, so it's not on this. I'm going to explain it to you guys so if you want to take notes. Number one, if you're starting an Airbnb business, you're going to need a business, right? So you're going to need an LLC. I don't recommend a sole proprietorship. LLC is an actual corporation. It's going to keep your liability safe if anything happens in the Airbnb as well, even though Airbnb already has an insurance, and there's tax benefits to it as well. So number one, you need to open up a business. You can do this on like LegalZoom.com if you're American, or myusacorporation.com. If you're Canadian, you can just directly go into a driver's office and open up a business. This is usually $300 to $400. You don't necessarily have to do this right away. I don't recommend doing it until you land your first deal. That way you're not spending money until you know you're going to be making money. So that's step one, open a business. Step two, open a business bank account. You can use Wells Fargo, Chase, if you're Canadian, RBC, or TD. Doesn't matter what bank you want to use. So that's step two. Step three, open up a PayPal, a business PayPal account, and connect your new business bank account to the PayPal account. So open a business, open a business bank account, open a PayPal account. Now, if you have a credit card, great, but I recommend getting a new business credit card. That way you can expense everything that you do through Airbnb. So you're going to take that new credit card and you're going to go over to PayPal. Now, go to PayPal, write yourself an invoice. It's very simple. If you open a PayPal business account, you can email yourself an invoice for how much you think the furniture will be. So if you think it's $2,000 and you don't have the cash on hand, who cares? Leverage good debt. Use the bank's money for that. So now you've got a new business credit card because you've opened a business bank account. Maybe the limit's only $2,000 on it, or maybe it's $5,000, whatever it may be. You need to start building credit with that business. So you send yourself an invoice for $2,000, use your new business credit card, and you pay that invoice. That money then goes into your PayPal account, which from there, you're gonna get a 2.9% charge typically, not a big deal. And you can export that money now to your bank account to go buy the furniture. Now you have obviously some debt on that credit card, but you've also probably got the new sign-up bonus points that would come with the initial $2,000 to $3,000 you have to spend within the first 90 days or 60 days, depending on who you're with. Now you've got that cash, you can go to IKEA, you can go to Walmart, you can go on Amazon or anywhere to go and start buying the furniture that you need. Furnish the place and do a 50-50 split with the homeowner. I recommend starting again with studios, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, or even 2 bedroom, 2 bath condos. And you've used none of your own money to make money at this point. So you're going to go and Airbnb it out, take a 50-50 split. And let's say you make $4,000 on the first month with your Airbnb. That's awesome. 2,000 of it is yours. 2,000 of it's the homeowner. You paid off your credit card and you can do this over and over and over again. And you haven't spent $1 other than, your incorporated company. So I hope you guys made note of that. Open open a new company, business bank account, new credit card with that. Or you can use an existing, open a PayPal, invoice yourself, and transfer the money over to your bank account to use to furnish, or even master lease. So using that same method, now we're on master lease. This method involves you finding homeowners who just want fixed monthly income and give you permission to re-rent their property. Very simple, renting, it's just considered a master lease. And when you put your business on it, it's a corporate master lease. So when you're signing this lease, there's certain documents, there's master leases that we use, but also you can use somebody's residential lease, but you need to make sure that anywhere on that lease, wherever it says no short-term rentals, no subletting, subleasing, or Airbnb, you need to amend that, cross it out, and have an addendum on that contract that states, I, the homeowner, am giving Braydon Ross permission to do Airbnb out of my property from X date to X date, and any other short-term rentals he chooses to do. So that will give you permission to do so legally in writing. And I recommend doing that over DocuSign. That way it's digitally marked. All right. So if you're going to go and master lease a property, you're typically looking for a 2 to 3 times return on your money. If you're on Bnbvestor and you look up a city, if the occupancy is typically 60 to 65%, that is my minimum. If it's lower than that, then I don't usually go to that area. Now, it's not always the case because I'll go right to Airbnb's platform. But for the most part, if it falls under there, then I don't really touch it. Most cities are over that 65, 70% mark. So if you're spending $1,000 a month for rent, you want to at least earn $2,000 to $3,000 a month back on whatever you're doing with Airbnb. You can take it a step further and have a clause in your lease addendum that states you can use all the rent you've paid on your 1-year lease towards the purchase of the home. So I was speaking about that, where you can do lease to owns, test the property, and at 1 year, if you decide to buy it, fantastic. If you don't, then walk away or just re-rent it. Not a big deal if they're going to let you. Again, there's ways to liquidate credit to expense all of this, not even using your own money. So the way I just actually talked about is one of the ways that you can do it. So if you use that same way, you could go and pay rent with the cash by liquidating your credit card and earning points and all the other perks and benefits of opening up a new bank account. All right, so just give me a second here. I gotta get some water. All right, so automation. I don't spend a lot of time on the actual day-to-day with Airbnb because you can automate most of it. And what I mean by that is setting up your teams, your processing payment systems, the platforms, the systems. It's going to save you time. And there's no reason why you have to invest in a lot of human capital when AI is clearly blowing up here in 2020 and over the next decade. If you're not familiar with AI, it's artificial intelligence. This is a secret that most Airbnb hosts have not mastered yet, and the only thing that will allow you to scale to multiple properties. Because if you're spending all the time cleaning your own unit, which is fine if you just start, because if you charge $50 to $70 a night for cleaning, let's say, they only get charged when they end their stay. So if it's a 2-night stay, then you're only charging them one time because you're not cleaning every day. With a hotel, you have the advantage of doing that, and people actually book you more because they're always getting that clean room. Now, you're probably going to start with a condo. So if you clean yourself, let's say you have 10 stays over the month, and you charge $50 a night, then that's $500 extra in your pocket. So if you wanted to clean for the first 2 months, cool, do that, no problem. But if you don't want to and you want to just scale, then that's fine too. I recommend getting an Airbnb, running it for 30 to 60 days, even up to 90 days just to master it, and then going and getting 2 more, and then 5 more, and then 10 more. You get to that 10 Airbnb mark, you're making a considerable living if you're doing it correctly, and likely around the $250,000 a year mark. If you want to get to the $1 million a year mark, which may sound like I'm not even close there yet, depending on your situation, you're looking at anywhere from typically 50 to 100 properties. And I'm talking net, not gross. And they have to be profitable. Imagine automating all of your guest communication, check in, check out, cleaning crews, reviews, and more. So every time an Airbnb guest checks in, an automation system sends them a message. Where's the Wi-Fi, the access code, where do we park, is there valet, what's the closest bars, restaurants, all that good stuff. Always the same questions. And then at the end of their checkout, hey, thank you guys for staying. I appreciate you guys keeping the house clean, if they did, of course, but it's automatically sent out. Cleaners will notify you if they didn't. I'm happy to leave you a 5-star review if you enjoyed your stay. Can you leave me a 5-star review as well? Just like Amazon, reviews are everything. Because in Airbnb, people are going to the reviews because nobody really wants to be the first to test it. And at first, you have to list and you're going to have no reviews, but you usually leave a 20% discount code for your first 3 nights of listing your new Airbnb. So we have automation for all of this. All right, so I used to have a little guarantee, by the way, guys. So having a coach is great. I've taken out the 30-day guarantee because I've noticed that if people follow me exactly on what I do and they emulate everything I say, then you shouldn't have a problem. By this point, you should have a rough idea of how to go and get an Airbnb, how to list it, and how to actually grow and automate your business. And I will give you another tool here. So one of the tools we use is called IGMS. IGMS is a simple software that will send out messages in and out, and they'll do the reviews for you, and it has an all-in-one inbox system, and it helps your cleaners identify which properties are clean and what they're not. When you get to 5 or more listings, we actually onboard a full-end concierge, and there's certain tools that you pretty much press a button and it goes to 50+ short-term rental platforms. So when I'm talking about increasing occupancy for people, we're not just relying on Airbnb, that's one platform, but there's a whole interconnected system on how to advance method this whole thing, use different advanced strategies and grow the business. Airbnb will usually get you quite a bit of traffic, but if you're always on multiple different platforms like LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram as an entrepreneur like myself, I'm going to get more business than just being on one. All right. So Airbnb, like I said, guys, is going to go public. More hosts than ever, more regulations preventing amateur hosts, short-term accommodation licenses, like I was mentioning, are coming into play. The business model is finally being taken more seriously. Some buildings, you know, they ban, but whenever I'm going into like a condominium, what I'll usually do is I'll call the condo and say, hey, I am looking to rent a spot in your place. I'm just wondering if you could forward the condominium bylaws over to me, and that way I can scour through them. So if you get a digital document, if you're on a Mac, you can press Command F and type in subleasing, sublet, Airbnb, and if it pops up in there and it's not allowed, you go to another building. You're not gonna, you can't really circumvent places where it strictly says no Airbnb. However, if it says no subleasing, I want you guys to understand Airbnb is not subleasing. And you're like, oh yeah, it is. You're renting a property and reletting it. No. So Airbnb, if I rent off somebody and I'm doing it through my company, my company is not a human entity. Although it is an entity, it can't sleep in the bed, it can't live in the apartment, but it's a corporate lease. And so when you have a corporate lease, corporate master lease in other words, the Airbnb guest is not signing a tenant undertaking form or a lease agreement when they come into the property, much like a hotel. We're not subleasing rooms. If you go to a hotel and you say, am I subleasing the room? They're going to tell you absolutely not, because you can extend your stay and you never sign an agreement. There's no security deposit, nothing. So you're not signing a contract. So it's not subleasing. A lot of people might be like, what the heck? That doesn't make sense, but it isn't. Cost of hosting will go up due to regulatory laws. Anyways, so basically what took me 4 years to learn in Airbnb, I've kind of talked to you guys and I've provided quite a bit right now. You essentially learn in a month. And what I mean by that is, for me, what I failed on, and just to be relatable with you guys, the struggle here was I never really found a mentor when I was first starting. And even now, I finally have mentors in my life that I can reach out to, but there's always mistakes we have to make. So you have to ask yourself, what is your time worth? I don't know what your time's worth. I don't know what you charge an hour, but what do you want it to be worth? Because it needs to be worth that amount and more. And if you're not there, you're not providing value to reach that, then you're doing something wrong. So when you have a mentor, or for example, me doing Airbnb in 30 days or in over 4 years, and you learning kind of in a month or less, even on this call, I would love for you guys to go out and get your first Airbnb, or if you have multiple Airbnbs, go out and actually get more or get better occupancy or make more money, better profit margins. But ideally, you need someone who has actually gone out and figured out all the little nooks and crannies that you weren't able to do before. And like I said, whatever your time's worth, it's priceless because you can't buy it back. All right, so I presented obviously you guys a solution for additional stream of income. You can use this to earn part-time or full-time income. I would love to be able to help you guys out. And basically what I'm talking about here, and by the way, guys, this is no more, although before you be like, oh my God, he's just selling to me, I want you guys to understand this. If you actually have an Airbnb, or maybe you're wanting to get your first Airbnb, you've kind of heard me spiel over the last 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I've talked about some stuff, surface level, but there's stuff where you don't actually know and can't see how these contracts, how these emails connect. When I'm coaching people, I do live deal calls. And what it means, like if you're in, I don't know, Hollywood Beach, and you're like, hey, I want you to call this homeowner. I'll do it on a live call and set you up with a meeting, or even get a deal right then and there. And you can see me in real time. I'm not just somebody who teaches this business. I'm somebody who lives and breathes the business because I've done it for 4 years. I've succeeded at it, and I failed at it at the very beginning in different ways. And from those failures, I've converted them into successes. So what I do actually is I do 4 live coaching calls, and how it works is you basically have access to a network, a plethora of different entrepreneurs from all walks of life. From 18 years old, I have a student, the oldest student I have is 75. So I have people all over the world in different areas, a lot in the United States, to be honest with you guys, that essentially we talk and we connect and we have deals for each other. And we're all Airbnb hosts helping one another, but each person has been trained by me. So what I just showed you is just a little tiny piece. So what I do is 4 live coaching calls over a month. It's about an hour. Every Sunday we connect from 12 o'clock. So if you're in Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. to about 3 to 3:30. And if you can't make the calls, everything is recorded. So it's capped at 30 people. This is actually, and by the way, guys, it's not an urgency thing. It's done after this month. And what I mean by that is I'm not doing the live coaching 4 weeks in a row. What you'll have access to as of February 1st is just a step-by-step, here's a video, here's a video, here's a video. And I'll have one live expert on each month. Like I am right now with Francisco. I'll have somebody with credit or wholesale real estate flipping, or somebody with branding, or somebody just in the social media world, or just multiple streams of income, something that falls still under that real estate umbrella, but that can help you. So 4 live calls over a month, about an hour to an hour and 15. You'll have access to ask me questions in your back pocket. Imagine having me in your back pocket to ask questions when you need me. So we have a private paid VIP Instagram group. Again, it's capped at 30 people only. And you can come in and you can ask questions daily, whatever the heck you need to ask. Maybe I've covered something on the live call, or maybe you took it upon yourself to figure something out. Maybe you're stepping into a master lease deal and you just don't understand the bylaws, or you don't understand if it's going to be a profitable deal. Imagine going out and trying to learn this, and you're doing it on your own, and you step into a master lease and you're paying rent, but you can't afford the rent because you didn't make enough for the month. You don't want that to happen. One thing that I do specialize in heavily is marketing, digital marketing and SEO. I talk heavily about how you can drive external traffic to your listing. I'll give you a quick example. Most Airbnb hosts simply just put their Airbnb listing up. And that's it. Airbnb alone. They don't use any other platform. But with what I do and what I teach is I teach people to spend $1 per day on things like Facebook ads or Google ads or YouTube ads, drive traffic to your listing. Just like watering a plant, if you get more views to your listing, the algorithm instantly notices that you're the most popular. And when that happens, you get ranked up. So you're not looking for leads from these ads, but you're only spending $1 a day to convert what, $100 booking? I do that every day of the week, 100x your money. So what you're doing is you're driving traffic, triggering the algorithm to rank your Airbnb up, and essentially people organically searching your city will see you on the first, second, third page where they're usually looking. And you get booked out more than usually 80% of the time. So that's a little trick that I specialize in. And I show you step-by-step how to set up the perfect ad on how to do this. So there's little things like that that you may have questions on. And again, the automation tools for messaging, reviews, lead outreach and cleaning and all that other stuff. I show you how to get a cleaner in any city. I'll help you answer any regulatory questions that I can personally help answer. I'll talk about different tax structures. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer, although I almost became an accountant. I left university in my 4th year for accounting. But I show you my best practices. Whatever you want to take from that is yours. You know, I provide different contracts, scripts, toolkits. I also show you different live calls where you can just emulate what I say, and you have all that step by step. So I know 7 figures for a lot of people, like, what the heck, we haven't even got our first Airbnb. I'm going to show you how to get to your 6-figure mark if you're hungry. If you're not hungry and you're like, damn, like I'm already busy and whatnot, I'm not going to, I don't want to convince you on trying to join something. I'm telling you right now, the busiest part of this business is getting your first deal, which I would say takes 3 to 5 hours a week over the first 4 weeks. Usually by week 3, people will go in and get their first deal because now they're equipped with the knowledge and exact know-how, what they should say, how their systems are set up, and their best practices to make sure that their Airbnb is going to be occupied. So now it's not 50 hours, actually about 120 to 150 hours worth of bonus action guide videos. And that's just live calls that I've done in the past like this, but on the paid version where I'm actually going in and screen sharing. One thing I didn't do with you guys tonight is I didn't show you the back end of my systems, what each unit is earning, how I'm actually setting it up, how I'm automating my day. When it comes to setting up your Airbnb, all you're doing once you have the Airbnb is making sure that it's clean, making sure that the customers are taken care of in terms of communication, and the reviews are written. So imagine if reviews are written, customer communication is taken care of, and your cleaning crew knows when to go in and out. You're not really doing anything. You're really just making sure that you're profitable and make sure your prices are on point. And then obviously cross listing and showing you how to use 50+ short-term rental websites and staying automated. All right, so based on everything I'm kind of talking about here, there's a lot more that I can talk through. I'm not going to go through each little individual point, but you're going to get access to every little thing that I just went over. The deal finder software, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about Bnbvestor. It's my go-to software for all this. If you guys are on Bnbvestor, fantastic. If you're not, you definitely need to try it out. And then there's a golden loophole. If you're trying to scale your business internationally, it's okay to get an Airbnb where you live, but you want to get them everywhere. Imagine traveling the world making money from Airbnb, and it may sound like, oh, I've been pitched a million times, different ideas. Airbnb is all over the world right now. If you don't believe in this business model, then you probably should have left the webinar already. But if you do, and you're still here, then that means you're probably interested in hearing more or just learning more about Airbnb as a whole and getting your first Airbnb in a month. So the secret SEO hack, I slightly talked about that. Partnering with realtors, boutique hotels, corporate housing companies, resorts, campgrounds, and more. You can do this. You can even do yachts. People rent out tree houses in Canada, igloos. There's like little domes, boats, tree houses, whatever the heck you want to do. But boutique hotels is a massive market that nobody is talking about. You can find Airbnb videos online. You can go to YouTube. I'm sure you could start connecting the dots, but you're not going to know the exact documents you need. You're not going to know the exact things you need to be looking for to find a profitable deal. You're not going to know the exact SEO tactics I'm talking about. You're not going to know how to get partnerships with boutique hotels if you decide to go that big. You're going to have lifetime access, as long as I'm around, to the paid, and I'm pretty young, lifetime access to the VIP paid BNB Masters group. So we have a private WhatsApp chat, and then on the Instagram chat, that's where I post the live calls each week. Again, time dedication is roughly 3 to 5 hours a week. If you don't have 3 to 5 hours a week, then you're probably not going to the gym either for about an hour a day. You need to start making time commitment and management. This is an option where if you put in a little bit of work, but you're also hungry for deals, I'm not saying anything is easy, but what I'm saying is if you follow exactly as I'm doing, I've been doing this over and over and over and over again. It's like tying shoes at this point. So you're gonna have access to a network of over 600 students to connect with and work with. If you wanna find deals in other places, they're always available in this group chat daily. I basically have it pinged on my phone every day. So the 30 people are gonna be on Instagram. That's the group for the month. And then you transition over to the larger WhatsApp group once those 30 days are over. And then each month we'll be having a bonus live call. This is brand new as of this week with an expert. So you can tune in, and any new content I release, you'll have access to as well. Green and Red's Zone City action map and live deal calls and support. So I have a team of students that have done incredibly well. One of them's in here right now. He was an architect and came to me a year ago from Australia in Melbourne, and didn't really have enough for even the program, and ended up quitting his job after just 3 weeks and doing Airbnb, and now works with me full time. So it's absolutely incredible how far everybody has come at that point. So when it comes to little breakdown, I'm sure you guys have seen breakdowns on programs, and it's like, holy cow, what the heck? There's way too much going on here. Again, the guaranteed Airbnb is not there anymore. We had people kind of taking advantage of it, but if you follow exactly as I say and you do everything perfectly, you will, even if you don't do it perfectly and you mess up here and there, you're still going to be able to get an Airbnb. It is not difficult to get an Airbnb. The difficulty is in scaling and doing it internationally so you can build this business remotely. Imagine having one in, I don't know, Thailand and Bali and Australia, and then Canada even, or in the United States, anywhere you want. It's very lucrative. All right, so just to scour through it, you get everything that's listed on here. Again, we do one live call a week. If you can't make that live call, that's fine. You can go back and rewatch it at any point. I'm able to answer questions in real time for you. So if you have a question, I'm in the Instagram group. I'm on Instagram all day. I do, again, personal branding all the time. And it's what I love to do. So you'll have access. And you're going to have access to the contracts. You're going to have access to the scripts for emailing owners or agents. And then one of the biggest things people do is like, well, I can figure out, I know how to get knowledge. I can go to Google. I can go to YouTube. Yes, you can 100%. And if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But if you just want a streamlined process, and this is why I asked you what your time's worth. If you want a streamlined process to be able to go in and land deals and know exactly what to do step by step, then here's your training wheels for the next month and so on. So one thing I'm also introducing is I'm going to start taking top students, people who have earned 6 to 7 figures. They're not only going to become teachers under me, they're going to start earning money through the programs. And they're also going to be awarded, much like ClickFunnels, little plaques, and we do retreats and whatnot. And so I have one coming up this April in Cancun as well. May sound like, holy cow, this guy's giving away everything. But yes, you're guaranteed everything. Well, not guaranteed. I hate the word guaranteed now. I used to say that a lot. You are given everything on that list. All right, so the cost is what's typical online. Most people sell their stuff for $997. I do too. It's a simple and fair price point. It's not $5,000, $10,000, $2,500, but it's not too less. So again, there's 30 spots. If you are interested, however, basically I'm gonna leave a little link, and there's no buy now button. And the reason why is because we qualify people. We don't just want anybody. I want people that are hungry to actually grow a new business, have a great attitude when we're actually talking to you over the phone. And also maybe you already have an endeavor, but you're looking for something extra, or maybe you have nothing right now. You don't know where to go. It's 2020. You're like, I don't know to swear. I need an idea. This is your, this could be your solution. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. All right. I'm going to leave a little link in the chat as well. And I want to connect with your questions now. I want to be able to answer your questions. So let me leave a little link, and then I am going to answer your questions. All right, so here we go. Should we be seeing a video? Okay, that was a while ago. All right, welcome everybody. Can you go over outlets to use, promote my Airbnb, or where to find them? So I just left a little link. If you are interested, you can book in a call with me. Again, my Instagram is Mr. Airbnb, very simple. You'll find me right away. And you can just DM me the word Airbnb or say I was in the live call. As of next month, I'm going to be pushing it February 1st to $2,000, and then we're not doing the 4 live calls over a month anymore. It'll just be one at the end of the month as a bonus call if you want to log in. But you'll still have access to both if you do decide to join now. So basically what I was talking about, different outlets on Airbnb. You have HomeAway, you have VRBO, you have Expedia. Then you've got, even like in Miami, Mr. BNB. And there is different websites to help with this. I'll give you another one. It's called SyncBnB, SYNCBNB.com. And it'll show you over 200 short-term rental websites that you can cross-promote on. And if you get a double booking, they'll actually give you a $500 fee back, just in case. So Kenny, hopefully that answered your question. Can I have your Instagram? Again, just Mr. Airbnb. Francisco will be recorded, should be. What percentage for unfurnished? So unfurnished, typically you want to go for 40 to 50% because you're putting money up front in the deal and you want to earn it back as quick as possible. So you don't need a license to manage their property. It depends on your area. Again, you're going to have to look up your local laws, but typically if you get to a certain level in your business, you're earning a couple $100,000, then yeah, usually getting a license is a good idea. But a license, typically you just need a short-term rental license because you're managing under the homeowner and realistically they're the ones listing it. How do you determine the right area for property to ensure low vacancy? Typically sporting arenas. I mean, there's Airbnbs way out in the woods that do extremely well, like World War II log cabins. I've seen it all. But essentially, on Bnbvestor, it'll show you, what the average occupancy is for the city. You want to filter out what type of home you're looking for, what size as well. But for the most part, like I said, you're wanting to be around like sporting arenas. Like for example, I'm in Miami, so as close to South Beach as possible. If you could be around the most restaurants and bars, just stuff that makes sense. You want to be typically in downtown to make it simple. I'm interested in becoming a stager as well as interior design background. Is there opportunities to do this? There's always, Deborah, there's always opportunities to do whatever. I mean, there's Airbnb host meetups every single month. You can connect with these people as well. I'm not sure if you mean within my company. I'm currently a property manager. Would this conflict with me being an employee for the property? Again, that's a legal question. For the most part, again, I've had property managers and it's not ever been an issue with them actually working and doing it. Or you can get a friend involved and actually give them the property and they can give you a percentage. Recording the webinar. If you want to subscribe to Bnbvestor, save you 33%. I recommend, yes. Hello, will there be a replay? Yes. Recording, yes, yes, yes. Where does Bnbvestor get all their data? They're getting it from, to my knowledge, that's a Francisco question, but they're getting it from Airbnb. And then when you're finding deals on the deal finder for rent, it looks like it's all Trulia. API is just a connection interface. I think it's application performance interface or something like that. Is the for sale and for rent data coming from MLS? That's a question for Francesco. And the short-term rental data coming from which sites? Airbnb. Where is the link? So again, I just dropped the link above, guys. There's 30 spots. So if you guys want to book, I'm actually doing a boot camp. If you're in Miami, it is a paid boot camp, but afterwards, if you guys are ever interested in meeting up with me, I will have a group of people out here. I'm here until the 22nd. So if you want to hop on a call with us, you're either going to get me or my manager, Rashawn. He's in here as well on the call personally. How do you handle scaling with cleaning laundry when you start hitting 20? So cleaning is like the worst part, not worst part, it's the most heavy, daunting task of Airbnb. But typically you want to have your cleaners, just bring the laundry with them, clean it home and switch it out each time. Or while they're cleaning, they can clean and put the stuff in the washer and dryer as they're cleaning. And so it's fresh and ready to go for the next day. When you get to 20 properties, you're going to need more than 2 cleaners. There's a cool website called AIRBNB. There's lots of stuff like this I could throw at you. The AIRBNB will find any Airbnb or cleaners for any city pretty much. All right, so how do you cope with bookings that are, say, are a group of 6 and they turn up, they say 12 people in the group? So I have Vivint on the houses. That's why I typically deal with condos because they're smaller, and typically I'm dealing with 4 to 5, even 6 people at most. So condos is what I prefer. Regulation can be somewhat heavier, but I make sure the buildings have been consistent with Airbnb typically for at least a year to 2 years to show that they're not really going to change. Awesome. Thank you for the info. I'll be contacting you. Awesome, Kenny. I look forward to talking with you. Where's the link that Mr. Airbnb sent out? It is right there. If you scroll up in the chat, you will see it. You can also message me on Mr. Airbnb on Instagram. Do you think an LLC is necessary for the first property if I'm doing a master lease? Yes, 100%. You want to put an LLC on the lease to turn it into a corporate master lease. Guy, would you recommend a separate LLC for each property? Not unless you own the property. Would I recommend that? One LLC will be enough for all the properties. How do you scale once you get 25 properties? Do you hire a co-host? How do you structure rev share? That's something I talk about in the coaching. So I go into depth about how to actually scale with systems, teams, cleaning crews, managers, because you're going to need obviously not a lot of people actually, because if you think about it, the biggest task about this is cleaning. So if you have proper cleaning crews, all your communication is pretty much automated. We use a VA system pretty much 24/7 where we have a concierge and they take 5% per booking. So for example, we have, I don't know, 80 properties in, we'll say the Caribbean islands. Basically to run those properties, people are going to have questions. Where's the TV remote? How do I turn the hot tub? It's 2 a.m. You don't want to answer that, but you can train these people, and it's certain softwares that automates all your communication, gets you a custom website. This is when you're at 5+ properties. Basically all your marketing methods, that's where you can disperse. And even before you're at that 5+ property mark, it's not too hard to run 1 to 5. 5 to 10 starts getting difficult. Once you're at like 25, 30, 40, 50, yeah, you're going to need systems. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to fall apart. So the structure I actually break down in that live coaching. All right, I'm trying to get to everybody's question here. Let us know about the boot camp to attend that. So it is a paid boot camp. Each of these people pay $2,000 to come out for the weekend. But afterwards, if you message me on Instagram, yeah, just shoot me a message on Instagram. So you recommend to actually buying a property? No, I mean, if you buy a property, you could probably pay it off over 5 to 7 years. But you have to remember that if you buy, let's say, a $300,000 condo in Miami, you are at the risk of not being able to do short-term rentals. So you can put long-term renters in there, which is fine. But you could also take that 20%. Let's say you're going to put 20% down, and that would be $60,000. And I could go find a $1,500 a month condo that would cost me $1,500 for first month, $1,500 for security, and $2,000 for furnishing. And with that $60K, if I ended up getting properties at $5,000 a pop, I could have 12 properties, and usually I want to cash flow $1,000 to $1,500 a month on those properties. You're now making $15,000 to $20,000 a month instead of having all your money tied up in one property. Would you stay away from managing, co-hosting an Airbnb listing where it is a private room in a shared house shared with homeowners? Is it doable? Most people just stick with managing standalone guest houses. I'm looking to help senior citizens manage private rented bedrooms within their house. It's definitely doable, 100%. Some of the biggest people in the industry started with just 1 bedroom they would rent out. There's a massive opportunity on university campuses, especially in off season in the summer, to do Airbnbs out of those. I had a student, I actually can show you guys the numbers too. I don't have it this second, but he did $400,000 with 24 properties last year, 400 to 500,000. And then the University of Edmonton or Alberta, which is a city in Canada, gave him 151 rooms. So much like your senior citizens in their rented bedrooms, it's definitely doable just to do 1 bedroom at a time and rent out a shared room. All right, Cindy, another one. Is it better to hire cleaners dedicated, trained as employees, W-2 versus 1099? How do you motivate, keep them interested if there isn't consistent workload for them than when just starting out? Well, you could essentially form a cleaning company for Airbnb hosts and then actually incorporate saying, hey, I'll just manage the property and do the cleaning all in one. But that's an accountant question I would recommend based on the size of your company. If you're just starting, I'd recommend just hiring a cleaning crew, whether that's 2 to 4 people. Again, you could use turnover BNB and then just invoicing them and expensing that for now. Later, you could actually form that into a cleaning company where you didn't have to hire or outsource any of that. So that's what I recommend as you start. 1 to 5 listings, just, yeah, even 1 to 10. Just hire cleaners and then just, yeah, get them to invoice you and expense all that. All right. Okay, so I've been going on and on. Again, if you guys would like to connect, I will drop the link again. Booking a call on Calendly. There's 30 people. I've seen a few people have already done it. Again, basically, you're going to have access to me and my group of people. I'll be training you. You'll be able to have some questions. Whenever you don't get an answer in the Instagram group, you can reach out to me personally. And there's a lot of advantages to having someone who's done this for 4 years in your back pocket. Most time I spent was on repair or replace, like water heater, fridges, AC, etc. Home warranty is too slow for Airbnb. How do you handle that? Again, you can get additional insurance. If you have any issues with, so you're saying home warranty, just normal wear and tear. I would go with point insurance if you're if you're having issues with that kind of stuff. But if you can show that Airbnb guests have actually caused that damage, you have 14 days to submit a claim in the resolution center. So I'd recommend just additional insurance if you're going to do that. If it's going to be through Airbnb, because yeah, you're not really replacing your heater, your fridge, your AC often. I mean, I've been doing this, like I said, for years, and maybe once every 5 years, I'll have to change, a faucet or something like that. So any other questions based off kind of everything I went over tonight? If anybody wants to ask me anything about like the potential risks or where this could go or where I foresee it or where it's at now, like I said, in the live coaching, you'll have access to a deeper understanding of everything I just talked about. And definitely in 30 days, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go get an Airbnb, or maybe you have Airbnbs. Sometimes I get people with 8 to 10, even 20, the one guy, 25 Airbnbs, 24 Airbnbs, come in and just say, hey, I need to learn how to occupy these Airbnbs better. Show me the systems you're using. And sometimes in 10 to 15 minutes, they already got their money's worth. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's really what's your risk to reward, especially with this business. People are going to be turned off about the idea. It's not like you're just going to be able to go out and land deal right away unless you know exactly what you're saying. Like I said, provide value. And if you're saying you can increase occupancy, you better be able to increase occupancy. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to increase occupancy. Will Airbnb eventually fight back? The anti-Airbnb laws in Los Angeles and other cities like Uber did, 100%. So good example is there's about 800 licensed short-term Airbnb rentals in Hawaii. And Hawaii is super strict on Airbnb unless you own the property or you're living in the property. And even then getting a license is a pain. So if you are trying to go into cities like Santa Monica, where they call them rogue hotels, people were going and serving food there. Hawaii charges a $25,000 a day fine. It's like the biggest in the country, but Airbnb's in court with them. They've been there for a while. Eventually, what's happening right now is the hotel and lodging, like Miami, South Beach is filled with that. They have so much money that they're pushing back to any Airbnb sort of like buildings. And that's where you're getting a lot of regulation issues. But eventually everything will assimilate. Where I see boutique hotels right now, or just hotels in general, is they're becoming the next Uber to taxi and the Blockbuster to Netflix. And if they don't adapt and you're not that person to step in, you could make a multi-million-dollar business with boutique hotels, property management companies, without spending $1 of your own money on acquiring leases, even though master leasing is the easiest and fastest way, and going out and landing hundreds of deals. It's very possible if you took, the next, we'll say 6 months to a year, you could probably, I've seen people have a couple hundred units. Is it normal? No. That's because most people don't do as they say, or they're lazy. But realistically, most people get their first Airbnb 2 to 3 weeks. And then by month, I would say 3, they usually have 3 to 5. And a lot of people are okay with that because that, they're earning about 100 to 150,000 a year. Any suggestions on where to find handyman to fix things quickly? There's something called Tackle, TAKL. And basically you can just find people that are willing to do something really quick for you. I think it's an app here in the US. I'm a Canadian, so I got to learn all the US stuff. I have more students in the US than anything. All right. So just fearing that midnight phone call from guest, leaky roof. Yeah. Braydon, we're adding zoning restrictions to Bnbvestor starting. Perfect. So zoning restrictions, Bnbvestor starting with Florida in February. That's going to help a lot with zoning and seeing like an actual color coordinated map. All right, guys. Francisco, I don't know if you want to turn on your mic. I've kind of went through my whole spiel. I'll put the Calendly link one more time here. I would love to connect with anybody who wants to come through. And yeah, we would have our first live coaching call on Sunday. So it'd be just this weekend.
Just to thank you, Brandon, for being here. I really love your presentation. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be there.
Yeah.
As I told you on the chatting, we're adding zoning. That's the latest thing that we're adding to the system. It's almost getting not fair for everyone else that doesn't have the system. It's making it too easy for you guys. So again, see you on Saturday, and I think we're going to close the webinar then.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate everybody that came in. And again, thank you for having me on. I will see you on Saturday. Again, if you guys want to message me, it's Mr. Airbnb on Instagram, or click the little Calendly link. I'm sure you guys will have a recording. And yeah, thank you again for having me on. And I will see you guys later. Happy New Year.